Hello everybody, welcome back to CNS Corvettes in beautiful sunny Sarasota, Florida. It's your Corvette buddy Lyle here to talk to you about more interesting, exciting, and hopefully helpful Corvette stuff. Today we're going to address the age-old question as we are approaching spring and Corvette buying season. Do you buy the best car you can afford, or do you buy a less expensive one and then try to rehab it? Pros and cons of each? We'll get into it. Hey, we just hit 91,000 subscribers, thanks to you guys. We're only 9,000 people away from our goal of 100,000, so if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel and you enjoy what we do, please do hit that subscribe button. It helps us out immeasurably, and every person gets us one step closer to our goal. Now, let's get into it. You know, guys, as we get into springtime and Corvette buying season traditionally, there's always kind of two different philosophies that are at war with each other in your mind when you're trying to buy a Corvette. Let's talk about the easier one first. We call it the buy once, cry once philosophy. That means you are going to go buy the nicest, most well-maintained, most well-appointed Corvette of the generation that you want, and you're going to pay for it. There are pros and cons to this. Pros, obviously, you get to enjoy the car immediately. Day one, you have a reliable, nice car that you can be driving right away, not something that you're looking forward to driving in 6 months or a year. A good maintenance history is usually an indicator that you should have your car spending less downtime in the shop because everything that should have been addressed previously in the car's life probably has. Long term, even the more expensive version of that C5, 6, 7, whatever you've bought, if it's the right car and you've done your research and all your checking and had it inspected, it's often going to be the less expensive car to own in the long run because you're not going to be nickel and dime to death by things that are failing or falling apart that should have been addressed previously by the other owner. Also, if you're buying a really nice car and you plan on maintaining it as a really nice car, your resale value tends to be higher if and when you decide to move on from that vehicle. And as much as we hate spending the money up front, I know I do, it sure is nice to get a good chunk back when you do let the car go. This is also the best route if you are not a DIYer, if you are not a mechanically involved or talented person, or you're older or have some physical limitations where bending over a hood for 3 hours or wiggling your way under a dash to do something with wiring just isn't a possibility. Buying the car that doesn't really need anything is probably going to be your best bet in the long run. Obviously, when you have pros, you have cons. Some of the cons of this are obviously higher upfront cost. You're going to pay for a really nice car that has been well maintained, that has excellent paint, has an excellent interior, doesn't need tires, has had a bunch of the maintenance like the front engine kit and the torque tube already done. But it hurts up front, but it only hurts once. Another con to buying the really nice car is you tend to be less excited about modifying it and making it your own when it is already so nice. You know, do you add that spoiler? Do you add that splitter? Do you paint the mural of the Virgin Mary under the hood? It's probably not going to improve the value of the car at all when you start individualizing a really pristine example of a Corvette. Now, the other route that people tend to choose is buying a project or a car that needs help and then rehabbing it. The first and foremost thing that I would say about that is most people underestimate how expensive rehabbing a cheaper car becomes. Now, don't get me wrong, there are pros to this, okay? Obviously, you're going to have a lower entry price, depending on the condition of the car, sometimes a much lower entry price. As you go ahead and rehab this car, you're going to learn the car inside and out. You're going to really be in tune with everything about that vehicle, where you might not be in a car that you have professionally maintained and you just wash and wax. When you're starting with a car that's rough, you can certainly spec it exactly how you want. You can put whatever wheels and trim and stickers and whatever you want, whatever exhaust, you can do whatever you want to it because you're not hurting the value by doing so. And I will say, in all honesty, there's a huge satisfaction factor with that. When you have taken something that was a basket case and brought it back to something that when you show up at a show or whatever, people are like, whoa, man, that's awesome. I mean, that makes you feel really good. Of course, to balance that out, there are cons, kind of as I mentioned earlier. Costs to do to bring your vision to life with this kind of a basket case kind of car is almost always going to exceed expectations. You are always going to end up spending substantially more than you anticipated, not only in money, but in time and effort. The car could be down for weeks or months while you're bringing it back to where it needs to be for you to be happy with it, which for some people, the journey is the adventure. They don't want the instant gratification of, I got a beautiful car and I'm driving it today. They want to do this. And that's awesome. I'm the same type of way. I like starting with something that's a little rough and kind of loving it back into, excellence. You need to anticipate that there are going to be hidden problems in this car that could stack up fast. Again, more time, more expense. Depending on the mods you do and depending on the quality of the work you do, it could be more difficult to resell the car if and when you're ready to part with it. Because if you've individualized it so heavily, you may very necessarily make your market availability for people who would be interested in that specific car much smaller than you would hope. The cheapest Corvette is rarely the cheapest Corvette in sum. My advice to you, taking the extremes of buying the perfect car or buying a bucket and then bringing it back, here's what I'd recommend. Obviously, moderation and being somewhere in the middle is probably the smart way to go. I would say buy the nicest mechanically sorted Corvette you can afford, not necessarily the prettiest one. No one has ever had to call a tow truck from the middle of nowhere because their paint wasn't great, or their seats were torn, or their carpet was stained. That is the type of thing that you can address at your leisure while still having more or less reliable transportation, if nothing else. When you go to look at a car that is kind of in that middle ground, try to make sure that it has at least decent maintenance history, that you can see that at least the oil has been changed regularly, that when something failed or broke, it was replaced or repaired. Any of the major services, if you can find a car that's had the torque tube done or had the front engine kit done or has a fresh new exhaust on it or something, that's obviously a real bonus, something you shouldn't have to deal with right away. Paint, of course, being the big one. Paint, no matter how you cut it, is expensive. A really good quality, nice driver paint job that isn't from Mako is going to be $10,000 to $15,000 no matter how you cut it. That's not chump change. Slight cosmetic flaws, however, you can work around or hide or just ignore until you have enough money to address them properly. Avoid mechanically neglected cars. Even if they've been polished to the nines and they have awesome wheels on them, if there is no maintenance history, that should be a warning sign to you that the person that you are looking at their car maybe didn't value the same things for longevity of ownership that you do. So be wise about that. Buy the nicest mechanically sorted car you can. Play with the pretty bits as you can. Anyway, I hope you guys found this interesting. I'd be interested to hear your comments below, maybe some of your experiences buying either a perfect car or a not so perfect car. Put them in the comments below. I'd love to read them. And if we have enough good comments, we'll address those in a future video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.